Welcome to This is Getting Old, Moving Towards an Age-Friendly World. I'm your host, Melissa Batchelor, and on today's episode, I'm going to be giving you 3 tips for maintaining holiday traditions when a loved one has Alzheimer's disease. So for many of you, we all have holiday traditions that bring a sense of joy. They bring a sense of peace and love to both us and to our family and friends. And if you're caring for a loved one with Alzheimer's disease or related dementia, this can also be a time of stress, disappointment, and sadness, just because of the way the person used to be is not who they are during this holiday season. So in today's episode, I'm going to share 3 tips to help you maintain holiday traditions to minimize this negative holiday experience as much as possible. And if you are a caregiver, I do want you to remember that you need to take care of yourself and to allow yourself to maintain the traditions that you can and not feel bad if you can't do everything that you normally would. Because no matter what stage of Alzheimer's disease the person's in, being included in holiday traditions is still going to be important, both for the person living with the disease and those who love them. So you may have, kind of established traditions that might just need to be modified a little bit, but you also have the chance to create new traditions, because either way, the feelings, the smells, the sounds associated with the holidays can still bring joy and be a meaningful time with both family and friends. So based on the person living with memory loss, you might just have to simplify some of these activities in order to include that person. So tip number 1, around visits or family gatherings. First of all, work with the person living with dementia's schedule and to adjust the expectations of others. So think about the best time of day to do your gathering. Think about the number of people to invite. And think about the person living with Alzheimer's disease. Are they still comfortable socializing, or do a lot of people and increased noise just increase their anxiety or their agitation? That happens to any of us, really. If you're used to living in a very quiet environment and then you're put into one with a lot of noise and activity, it can make anyone anxious. Just keeping that in mind. Thirdly, thinking about location. Like, should you have this event in your own home, or should you go to where that person lives if they're in assisted living or a nursing home? And then being sure that you communicate with your family and friends about the expectations, the person's preferences and abilities at this time. So tip number 2, plan activities based on the person living with dementia's current ability. So if you have a tradition of baking cookies, involve that person at the level that they're able to participate. So there are a lot of different steps in the process of making cookies, and you just need to give that person a role. So maybe they could stir the cookie mix. Maybe they can add ingredients. Maybe they can roll the dough or help with decorating. If tree decorating is a tradition, depending on what the person can do, if they can stand, you can give them a lower area of the tree to decorate. They're a little bit taller. You can give them a certain part of the tree to decorate and try not to get too hung up on it being perfect. So this would be a hard one for my mom. But the person living with Alzheimer's disease, their participation and inclusion should be the focus of the tree decorating, not so much if they're getting it perfect. Tip number 3, around gifts. So if giving gifts, they may need help this year with shopping and picking out gifts. But it's always important when you go to any type of event and people are exchanging presents that we're all part of that and we have something to give. And then when receiving gifts, be sure to communicate with family and friends about what the person can currently do, what they're currently interested in, and things that they need. So some ideas could be, giving hand lotion, maybe giving them a family photo album that's labeled with names and dates and even little stories, or using technology to create a playlist of their favorite music. So there are a lot of different gifts or different ways that you can handle the gift giving and the gift receiving that allows that person to be included. So thank you for tuning in today, and I hope that these 3 tips were helpful for you. You can also visit the Alzheimer's Association's website. They also have similar tips and strategies to help with the holidays, both for a person living with Alzheimer's and their caregivers. So all of you have a happy and healthy holiday season, and I look forward to continuing to bring you content in the new year.
Thank you for tuning in to This is Getting Old, Moving Towards an Age-Friendly World. I'm your host, Melissa Batchelor, and if you'd like to learn more, you can check out my other episodes on my YouTube channel by subscribing and ringing the bell to get immediate notifications when new content comes out. In addition, you can also find the audio version of the podcast on Amazon Music, Spotify, iTunes, and Stitcher. Please feel free to leave an honest review, because more reviews mean more awareness of the podcast and helps us move towards an age-friendly world. If you have a comment or a question, you can visit my website, melissabphd.com. Go to the Contact Melissa tab, and you can leave me a voice message. You never know, I might just include your question or your comment in an upcoming episode.